Okay, so yesterday I said that I had gotten the lowdown on some family drama about my sister. Um, and this happened right before, we played Dungeon World, and Sarah and Kiri were like, what happened? Um, so since it's a really long story, I'm going to tell it instead of typing it. Also, Glow bought, like, a little makeup mirror with, like, the magnification and stuff, so I did my makeup so I feel pretty and I want people to see it. So, before I start, it's a long-ass story, some background. My sister's 10 years older than me. You probably are aware of that at this point. So she's like 35 now, 34, whatever, however old we are. And, when she was, like, I was in middle school, so, like, no, I wasn't in middle school, was I? I think I was still in, like, the 6th or 5th grade. So she was, like, 19 or 20, when this happened. She moved out to California with this dude she had just started dating. He was, like, the child of a family friend, so, you know, like, I mean, it's not like she didn't know anyone there. We had the family friend there. We had the dude she was dating, although it was weird that she, like, jumped straight into living with this dude. This is a pattern that she repeated for the rest of her life so far. He was not the first shitty dude she dated. Basically, every dude she dated in high school cheated on her. She has really bad taste in men. But anyway, this dude was awful. He was bad. And by moving her out to California, he also managed to isolate her from her friends and family. Anyway, this guy was bad. He was, I have no idea if he was ever physically abusive. I do know that he was emotionally abusive, and also gross. He used to joke about, like, dating Jessie until I got old enough to date, at which point he would trade up for the younger model. Like, I was 11. Yeah, so that's the kind of dude he was. And she moved to California and kind of got stuck there, and even after they broke up, she stayed in California. She didn't have any friends or family there anymore because she was not speaking to the dude or his mom. And none of the rest of us. Shush. Easy. Oh, baby. It's okay. The existence of neighbors is very difficult for Ozzy. So anyway, she was living in California and stuff. This is basically the point where Glow and I both agree that, easy, that, her life, and also to some extent her personality, went off the rails. Which is like, okay, you know, she's young, it's an abusive relationship, it's gonna change her, okay? Like, whatever. Anyway, that was like 10 years ago now. No, that was more than that now. That was like 14 years ago now. So eventually she moved back to Arizona. She was living in our living room for like a year. We were living in this really shitty, like, 2-bedroom apartment, that we called, like, the pit or the cave. It had, like, 0 windows. It was shitty. It had a horrible bug problem. One of the closets had a lock from the inside, but not from the outside. It was weird. It was bad. And so she was, like, living in our living room. It was at this time that she started to date one of her stepbrothers. Like, and just to really quickly go into the whole thing, my sister and I are technically half-sisters. We have the same mom, but we have different dads. My brother and I have the same dad, but different moms. So and then her stepmom had kids from a previous marriage too. So she's not actually related to any of her stepbrothers, even a little bit, even though it's been, like, years or whatever. And since she, you know, lived in Texas when they were all younger and then moved to California right away, she didn't really grow up with them. She kind of, like, knew them. So anyway, she started dating her stepbrother, and we were like, Lamau. But, you know, like, they're not actually related, whatever. And her stepbrother Joe is actually a really sweet guy. Probably the nicest boyfriend of hers, ever. He didn't cheat on her, ever, as far as I know. And honestly, knowing Joe, I don't know that he could have brought himself to. He, like, worships the ground she walks on. Like, he loves her. Oh my god. This will become important later. But anyway, they broke up because, like, he has anger issues. One time he punched a cinder block wall so hard that it broke. This also broke his hand, and it was in a cast for, like, half the time they were dating. It was very exciting. And anyway, she and Joe broke up. And, like, I swear to God, like, 2 or 3 months later, she moves in with this other dude and moves up to Prescott, which is like an hour and a half away from Phoenix, which is not far by Arizona standards, but like, you know, it's still an hour and a half away. And like I said, she'd known this dude for like a month, or like maybe 2 or 3. Like, they had worked together at this lawyer's office. She moved in with him where he was crashing on someone else's couch, and she moved in with him, and then they moved up to Prescott together like 3 weeks later. And surprise, surprise, he later turned out to be kind of a dick and cheated on her, I think. I don't have the whole thing. They broke up and got together like a couple of times, but regardless of whether or not he actually cheated on her, she definitely thought he was cheating on her. And he also had a temper, and so they fought a lot. I didn't mention this. My sister... Oh, I just choked on my own spit. Whew. I got really excited about this part of the story. My sister, I don't know if you noticed this, haha, emotional regulation does not run in our family. Like, as I said, she's been in an abusive relationship, so she's got some, like, trauma-related stuff. Like, she cannot stand any perceived criticism, which, like, I understand, that's fair, but also, when your mom or your sister or your brother is like, hey, maybe that's a bad idea, they're not saying, wow, you're stupid and you should never do anything. They're saying, maybe that's a bad idea. I care about you and I don't think you should do that. Like, that's a whole other thing. But, like, so she has these anger issues, and so does Tanner, which is the guy she moved to Prescott with. And, they routinely have, like, screaming fights. So, eventually, they break up. They were together, like, 2 or 3 years. Like, it was a while. And Tanner was a nice-ish guy. Like, as far as I know, he wasn't, like, outright abusive, aside from cheating on her, you know, standard, heterosexual, not healthy relationship sort of thing. And that's how most of her relationships, besides the, really bad one, went, as far as I know. It's just dudes lying to her, and cheating on her, and not necessarily being, like, outright abusive, but that, you know, that undercurrent of, like, gaslighting and emotional manipulation that comes along with dating straight dudes, yeah, that's what all her relationships were like. But Tanner was alright. Like, I didn't mind having dinner with him or hanging out with him. He wasn't as nice as Joe. Joe, like, brought over his PlayStation and we would play Rock Band together. He didn't talk a lot, but we played a lot of Rock Band, and he also, like I said, you know, would get into fights about things. He would, like, go to bat for Jesse. It was pretty nice. So anyway, Jessie has this horrible temper. She also probably has PMDD. Like, she has the worst PMS of anyone I've ever known. It's extremely predictable, and it's extremely severe. Like, when Glow was living with her, she had to keep track of Jessie's period so that she would know, like, is this a week I can't talk to her? Like, because it was, like, 4 or 5 days every single month. And it always has been. She's had this problem, as far as I know, since she was a teenager, when she was taking care of me and babysitting me and stuff. Yeah. So, anyway, eventually she and Tanner broke up. She was living with Glow. I think she dated some other dude briefly for a period of time. And then she started dating Derek. Derek is not his real name. Or Derek might be his real name. It's not his legal name. And it's also probably not, okay, no, it's not his birth name, and it's probably not his legal name. Like, as far as I'm aware, his parents named him Pedro, but I mean, it's a whole thing. He was sketchy. Glow was immediately suspicious of him, and he did some weird things. He did some weird con man things. Like, when Glow asked him how old he was, he gave her the wrong birthday and then corrected himself. He spelled his name wrong for her once. Like, so one day while he was in the shower, she went through his stuff, looked at his driver's license, wrote down the information, and gave the information to one of her friends to run a background check on him. Just like a free background check, not like a big deal background check. It came up mostly clean, and she was like, well, fine, I guess. And then this, around the time, this was like right before we moved up here. So then around the time that we were packing, Glow came down to help us pack and stuff, and Derek and Jessie broke up. And he stopped, like, basically living there. He was basically living there and having Jessie pay all his expenses without contributing anything because he didn't have a job. He would just let Jessie pay for everything. Before this, I should mention this. This is one of Glow's favorite stories. They were home together. Jesse was not there. Glow was eating dinner and watching TV. And he just, like, reached over, grabbed the remote, and changed the channel. Glow's name was on the lease. Glow was the one who turned on and started watching the TV. Glow was visibly still watching the TV. He just grabbed the remote without saying anything and changed the channel. And she was like, "Excuse me," and grabbed the remote back. I was watching that, and changed it. Because, like, it's her goddamn house. Who the fuck does that? And basically ever since that she's like, this guy is controlling and gross. But like I said, you can't say this to Jesse. You can't say, hey, maybe this dude has some habits that are bad. Or like, hey, maybe this dude fits some patterns that you've had in your dating life that weren't good for you. You can't say that. So Glow's just like, well, okay. And anyway, she comes down while we're packing to help move, and Jesse and Derek break up like 2 weeks later before we even managed to move up here. They get back together. And she's like, hey, hey, Mom, do you mind if he, like, comes over and stuff? And Glow was like, I guess not, but he can't be here while I'm here. I don't want him here while I'm here. And Jesse was kind of, like, pissy about it, but she agreed because Glow's name was on the lease, and, like, it's her mom. And Glow explains it like he never apologized as far as she's aware. Like, maybe he said sorry to Jesse, but she doesn't think that it was a sincere apology. He never said anything to Glow. He never said anything to her about hurting her child or her roommate or causing a distress in her house or nothing. So he wasn't allowed in the house, but unfortunately it was very small and it was right next to the parking spot. So what he would do if Glow was home was just sit in his truck, like right there, and so she'd have to pass him to get out to her own car. Yeah. One of many creepy things this dude does, I assume still. Oh my god, where am I? Yeah, they got back together and Glow wouldn't let him in the house. Okay, and then there was some shuffling, someone moved the thing, Dad moved to Prescott, Jesse moved in, Glow moved up the thing. I don't know. I wasn't in very good communication with my sister at that point. We just moved up here. I was having a horrible case of the seasonal depression and stressing out over classes and, like, just post-move shit. And, like, my life kind of collapsed for a little while after that. So I have no idea what was going on in my sister's life. But anyway, it's like, okay, blah, blah, blah. She's dating Derek. They're living up in Prescott, blah, blah, blah. Okay, at some point they moved down to Phoenix. Because she lost her job that she had worked with her ex-boyfriend. I think they closed the office or something. I don't know. So they moved down to Phoenix where he could get a job as a repo man. The way I was told about it was that they had a job as repo men. Like, they both had a job. What happened was, Derek was the one who was doing the job and getting all the credit at the company for it and getting paid, and Jesse was doing, like, half to 3/4 of his job, like, as his, like, assistant, unpaid assistant or whatever, and that's how they were paying the bills. There's so much to this story. There's, like, a lot going on. This is, like, 2 years of my sister's life, and just the whole thing. Oh, it's amazing. There's so much I have, it's a lot. It's too much. Which is why I'm telling it instead of writing it down, because, like, listening to me ramble for 30 minutes about my sister is, easier than reading, like, 20,000 words of explanation, probably. I mean, anyway. Okay. So, blah, blah, blah. They moved down to Phoenix. Glow's up here now. So she's not hearing super much. She knows they're still together. She's still upset about it. They're working as repo men, except not really. Or they are, but Jesse's doing most of the work and not getting any of the credit or money legally. Although her name is still on all the utilities on the place they move into. But anyway, when we went down there for Grandma's funeral and stuff, we stayed there one night. You may recall I did not stay there any further time or interact with my sister after that for reasons. One thing I should also mention, I can't remember the last time I saw my sister go to church. Like, she stopped going to, like, in Texas, like, I would go to church with the next door neighbors, and sometimes Mom and Dad would come with me. Jesse did not. Jesse didn't go to church. As far as I know, Jesse hadn't gone to church since fucking my christening, Like, she doesn't go to church. Derek's very religious. Derek got her to go to church. Derek got her to stop taking the Lord's name in vain. Derek got her to go to a church that is a pray away the gay type church. Yeah. Yeah. So this is already like, as far as I'm concerned, Derek's already on pretty rough ground. But like in person, he was really charming. He was very nice. He cooked for us. He was a good cook. You know, it was nice. I don't want to say anything about this next part because it could be incriminating to members of my family, but suffice it to say, Derek is doing some shady-ass, dangerous-ass shit, that he apparently has no problem telling his girlfriend's mom and sister about, and, like, boasting about, basically, but, like, doing it in my sister's name so she'd get busted if anything happened, because he's not supposed to do this thing. Because he's, like, an ex-con? Yeah. If you know anything else about my family, you may be able to kind of fill in the blanks there. Real exciting shit. This, and then, of course, the whole, like, thing that happened with her. So, like, he's bad news, basically. He's very charismatic in person, and then basically as soon as he leaves the room, you're like, wait, did I just act like that was normal? Did he just act like that was normal? Did we all just act like that was a normal thing to say around the dinner table and do? Like, instead of having a swear jar in their house, they had a taking the Lord's name in vain jar. Like, I shit you not. She warned us about it before we got there in the car. She was like, oh, and by the way, you can't say anything like, God damn it, or like, Jesus Christ. Like, you know, it's like, it's a swear jar. And I was like, I don't live there. Why would I abide by your rules? But okay. Oh man, oh there's so much, and so, like, but I mean, apart from that, it was a nice house, it was a nice big house, they had furniture, they had chickens, they had a little shed in the back where they were heaping, like, my dad's stuff. Her car was broken, Derek was fixing it, so they were using, like, his van, or the work truck, basically all the time. Let's see, I think that's the only important thing that happened until, you know, my mom was like, so hey, what's going on with John's stuff, which was being stored in the shed in the backyard of Jesse's house. And it turned out that, like, my brother was paying rent or something to keep the stuff there, and that's not acceptable. You don't make a family member pay rent to store something in your shed that was empty anyway, especially when it's your dead dad's stuff. Like, you don't make your brother pay rent on that. So Glow was like, oh, what's up with that? And Jesse got really mad about that. Because it apparently wasn't her idea, it was Derek's, and blah, 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 and how would she even know? And Glow was like, wait, so are you guys still together? And she was like, frankly, it has nothing to do with the topic at hand. I posted about this. Her explanation later is she was having, like, a bad day, she was super stressed out, but, like, she yelled at her mom for asking about her relationship status. Okay. Basically what had happened was she and Derek had broken up. Her boss had found out that she was doing most of the work and he was getting paid for it, so he just gave her a job, too. And, like, arranged for stuff, and then Derek got all pissy about it, like, and he got in trouble at work, and this whole thing. It was, like, this whole thing, but basically what happened is, her boss found out about a lot of things that Derek was doing and was like, we gotta get you out of there. So basically what he did was, after Derek lost that job because he couldn't do it without Jesse doing most of it for him, the boss recommended him to someone else for a job to get him out of the house. Came over with a truck and a bunch of the dudes from the company and, like, loaded up all of Jesse's stuff and, like, got her to a different apartment that Derek didn't know about. So that's really nice. So now she has a job, she has a place to live that's not with Derek. That's cool. She's not even staying with any of her family. So that's fine. That's good. That's good. Okay. When they had broken up before and when they were having trouble before, she had asked her dad, who lives in Phoenix still, if she could, like, stay with them for a while, and he said no. Or rather, what happened is, his wife, whom we refer to as the Barracuda, because she's an unpleasant person and she's very mean to Jesse, said no, and Dave rolled over because that's who he is as a person. That's what he does when his wife is like, do a thing. He's like, yes, lady. I mean, which probably worked out fine when he was married to my mom, who doesn't make, like, weird, unreasonable demands. She only makes, like, you know, if she makes demands, they're like, don't do speed in front of the kids. Yeah. Just side stories about my life. And so, like, so she was kind of worried about where she could stay and stuff. And so when her boss set her up with this thing, it was kind of nice. Like, okay, now she's relying on a thing. I don't know. Okay, I do know. I'm pretty sure that the reason she seems to seems to be laboring under the misapprehension that our family does not care about her or consider her family is because of the Barracuda, who literally does treat her like the stepchild all the time, you know, like she's lesser and whatever. And it's like, have you met the Cospers? We'll adopt anyone. That right there, yeah, that's my Mexican daughter. Yeah, yeah, I adopted her. She's our kid now. Yeah, oh no, that kid over there? Yeah, no, his parents are bad. He's ours now. Oh, yeah, you brought your roommate to Thanksgiving? Well, that's good, because your roommate's family is shitty. That's Graham. Graham got invited into family things way, like, before we started dating or she came out to us or anything. Because that's what we do. Like, my parents took in several of Jesse's friends when they were having trouble. Mom's helped out, like, the Joneses and stuff. You know, I mean, my dad referred to lots of kids he wasn't, you know, related to as, like, his kids, because, like, he helped raise them. He was responsible for them. They were his kids. Like, the whole family is like this. Like, even the relatives we don't like my horrible Uncle Joe, who's a pretentious asshole, or my extremely alcoholic Uncle Jack, who just, like, they're still family. We would still help them. Like, they're still family. They're family. Like, and so I don't understand. I mean, I do understand intellectually, but it kind of, you know, it's fucked up that she thinks the rest of us are on the same level as the Barracuda, basically. But so, like, it's this whole thing. Well, she finally talked to her stepbrothers, including Joe, about the whole situation. And first of all, Joe was like, what? Like, why didn't you tell me any of this was going on? Like, oh my god. But also, he was like, wait, you asked? Like, and then he was like, okay, well, why didn't you just come stay with us? So he found out that his parents were like, no to Jesse. And he got real mad, because, like I said, he had anger issues also. But, like, in this case, like, my parents didn't let one of their kids stay here to get away from an abusive relationship? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And Jesse was like, no, it's okay, don't make a big deal, don't, like, yell at them. And he was like, yeah, okay. He ignored her. He yelled the fuck out. And he yelled. He yelled at his parents. He yelled at his mom. He yelled at Dave for listening to his mom. He yelled at everybody. He was like, that is our family. And especially since not long after they had been like, no, Jesse can't stay here, they had had someone they're not even related to staying in the house. And he was like, so he lost it, which is just, it's so cute. He's such a sweet guy. So he got real mad and yelled at his parents, and now that's all settled. And apparently none of the kids, her other stepbrothers, she has like, I have no idea how many stepbrothers she has, actually. 2, 3, 4? I don't know. She has at least one stepsister. That's what I know. So, like, that's all resolved. That's nice. Let's see. Also, this is the best thing. This is the best thing. Joe was also, like, Derek's weed hookup for whatever, or, like, an intermediary. Like, he knows a guy, and then he knows a guy. And the guy he knows actually has access to, like, the good stuff. There was a noticeable upswing in the quality of, annoying smoke that I over-smelled. Like, when they were smoking on the porch, I was like, okay, well, at least it doesn't smell like someone's killing a skunk out there. So Derek was like, hey, dude, you still gonna hook me up? And Joe laughed at him. Was like, no? Like, what horse do you think I have in the game of you, my friend? I only knew you because Jesse vouched for you. Jesse was like, oh, by the way, he's an abusive shithead. Like, no. The fact that he just asked, Joe told Jesse about this too and was like, everyone laughed. It was hysterical. Like, I can't believe he had the gall to ask that. Like, no, I'm not gonna keep hooking you up with good weed when you just fucking dumped my sister / ex-girlfriend and treated her like shit for 2 years? No. Derek's, since she moved out, become a lot more textbook abuser, like calling her all the time. He doesn't leave voicemails, but he left her a voicemail where he was crying about, oh, he needed money for this, and it was a thing, and it was if she could get the safety deposit from the house. It's pretty gross. And now she recognizes this, and now she's like, okay, it's a thing. And now she's like, oh, I wish I had known. Why didn't anyone tell me? And it's like, but anyway, so yeah, it's a mess. It's amazing. It's Ozzy, shush, easy. And Grandma's home, and that's basically the end of the story, so goodbye.